Hey guys, my name is Andrew Henderson from nomadcapitalist.com, and I'm the author of this Amazon best-selling book called Nomad Capitalist, which is an introductory primer on how anyone can become a nomad capitalist, become a global citizen. One of the things that we talk a lot about in the book and that people have asked for on YouTube is personal finance, basic personal financial concepts brought into the realm of nomad capitalist. As we say here, go where you're treated best. Those are the 5 magic words. And I'm going to talk about a concept called dollar cost averaging today and why I think that it should be adapted for the nomad capitalist world. Now, before we begin, I'm not an investment advisor. I'm someone who does this stuff myself, whether it's through legal tax reduction, obtaining multiple citizenships, and managing my own money using the emerging and frontier world economies to help me grow my money faster. So dollar cost averaging is something that a lot of money gurus and financial advisors will tell you about. It is basically putting in money into the same stock, mutual fund, whatever, at a frequent interval. Could be weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually even, where you'll say, all right, I'm gonna put $1,000 a month into a stock. The first month the stock is $100 a share, you're going to get 10 shares. The second month the stock goes down to $90 a share, and so now you're going to get 11.1 shares. And so you're going to be buying fewer shares of stock or whatever else it is when the price is high. You're going to be buying more shares when the price is low, and the idea is that over the long run things go up, but you will be avoiding what most people do, which is buying emotionally at the exuberance, the high points of the market, and then selling at the low points of the market when they're despondent. You will bypass all of that by simply buying more and accumulating more when prices are low, and then buying less when prices are high, but never really giving up. It's a very basic financial concept. And I'm gonna give you 3 reasons why I think you should be removing the dollar and replacing some other currency. So the first concept for foreign currency cost averaging is that you can make much higher returns on many foreign currencies, much higher than you could on the dollar and much higher than you can on the euro or the Swiss franc or the yen or whatever else. And so one thing we've talked about in other videos, as well as in the book, is the idea of increasing your returns in foreign currency investments. Now the thing people say is, well, Andrew, what if the currency doesn't do well against my base currency? I'm in dollars, why buy Armenian dram? I'm worried about it. And the truth is, yes, in Armenia, people have been taught through generations that the dollar, the euro, whatever, is more stable than their currency. In much the same way that people in the United States now often want to go and live in countries like Armenia, Thailand, whatever, to save costs and to be more free. So I think you can go down to a place like Armenia. You can make 9.5% as I'm making this video on a 1-year term deposit. Again, we talked about that in our video on higher interest rates. But you make your 9.5%. 1 year later, you put in 1 million Armenian dram. 1 year later, you've got 1.095 million Armenian dram. Now, if the value of the dram against the dollar goes down 9.5%, I mean, you've basically washed it out. But what I did before I made this video is I went back and I looked at roughly the 3-year period from today to 3 years ago. Right around this time 3 years ago, the Armenian dram was exactly where it is today. Now, there's no guarantee that could be the case. There are certain currencies that just consistently go down. I mean, look at the Turkish lira, for example. It's just always going down, and now it's going down a lot. But if you find good, stable currencies that have good macro conditions behind them, yes, they're going to likely be more volatile than the dollar, but over a long enough term horizon, you can set up, ongoing deposits to basically make sure that in the long run you come out okay, or at least you greatly increase your chances of doing that. So by dollar cost averaging, or dram cost averaging in this case, into foreign currencies, you make sure that you're not trying to time the market. The last thing you want to do in investing overseas is trying to time the market. Again, I'm not an investment advisor, but I can tell you in my own life, I don't want to be catching a falling knife, and I don't want to be buying exuberance. I want to be carefully going in over the course of time, and there are really some ways how you can mirror, or you can combine CD laddering, which we talked about in a video, along with dollar cost averaging or currency cost averaging in this case. Now, the second reason is basically, again, securing your position, securing your rate. So I'll tell you an example. I do a lot of finances. My finances are in dollars, but I recently bought a new home in Montenegro that was based in euros. Now, a couple of years ago, the euro was like an all-time or near all-time low against the dollar. And then it went back up, and then recently came back down. And literally, the couple days before I was sending the money for the house, it went up about 2%. Now, in the grand scheme of things, is paying an extra 2% for a house as a long-term investment, and particularly something that's for your personal enjoyment, is that the end of the world? No. And would I say that you should go out and apply some kind of complicated financial strategy to avoid that? Absolutely not. In fact, I would say exactly the opposite. But I do think that if you're planning on making, whether it's a one-time investment on a large scale, or whether it's a systematic investment into another currency that's not your base currency, that there may be a benefit into dollar cost averaging into that currency before you make the investment. So, let's say that you are traveling around the world and you're looking for a place that you want to settle down. You want to have as your nomad base. You want to spend 4, 5, 6 months a year there. Let's say you want that base to be somewhere in Europe. Well, the currency is going to be in euros, most likely. So while you're traveling around, why don't you start finding some fixed amounts of money to move from your currency into euros, maybe on a monthly basis, maybe on a quarterly basis. This way, you'll feel better about making the eventual purchase of that property. Because imagine that you are dealing in dollars, as I do for some part of my finances, and the dollars are what I'm trying to get rid of. And you're in dollars, and you're saying, hey, I want to buy a €500,000 house. Well, if you're starting to look today, and let's say the euro is, or the dollar is 1.15 to the euro, and 2 years from now you go to buy the house and it's 1.25, what I found a lot of people do is psychologically they find it very difficult to make that investment because they say, oh, 2 years ago I could have paid so much less. And then they delay, and then they go and they try and catch the falling knife, and they try and wait for the currency to go down to buy their home. Meanwhile, the price of the property may go up, the market may go up, they're losing money, they're losing time, they're frustrated. So not only is it a good kind of basic financial principle, if you plan on making investments or plan on making a purchase in another currency in the future, start moving money. This can be good nomad capitalist strategy as well, that hey, maybe that you've got a bank account in euros in another country that helps you diversify financially. And so you're going to move money out of your US account that's in dollars into another account somewhere else that's in euros. So you get your foreign banking handled, and you're starting to handle the personal financial approach of getting that money ready for that investment. And the third reason that this dollar cost averaging really makes sense is as a general diversification. Here at Nomad Capitalist, we talk about the idea of going where you're treated best. Where you're from, banks probably aren't the best. They're probably not the highest quality. They're probably not the safest. Why not open a bank account somewhere else where you feel better about it and you can diversify some of your money and you can protect it? And by having money in other currencies, you can protect yourself. The same with the Armenians, in many cases, want to keep their money in dollars. You can be someone in dollars and have money in other currencies. Now, if you have money in dollars, there are certain things to where you have an advantage. For example, a lot of fuel, oil is priced in dollars. So, you don't really have to worry that much about the price of flights, skyrocketing on a currency basis. You might on an oil price basis, but on a currency basis, you don't have to worry the same way that someone who is holding Turkish lira just saw all their prices on a global level double in the last few months. But there are other things that you may need or want to buy where having exposure to different currencies can help you. And so again, rather than just trying to time the market and just pick something when you think it's the best, a lot of people run into problems doing that. So why not slowly and steadily start moving money monthly or quarterly into, from your bank account into another bank account, into another currency, moving money as you go. And before you know it, you'll have more money there. That helps for a couple of reasons. Number one, a lot of people who are just starting out feel very uncomfortable simply moving $100,000 from one account to a new account overseas. So if you take it and break it up into $10,000 every month for 10 months, and then you keep putting in recurring money after that, it often makes people feel more comfortable. It's also easier for many other reasons, but it is just a good way to dip your toe into the idea of diversification. So those are three reasons why I think dollar cost averaging can be helpful for a nomad capitalist. Generally, I want to be getting my money into other currencies because the dollar will not always be the best currency. And particularly if you're traveling the world, if you're living in different places, if you are investing in other places and in other currencies, whether it's stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever, having that presence in other currencies at a rate that you have more ongoing control over can be helpful for people. And what I've also learned is that on a psychological level, people find it a lot more comfortable because they don't have that fear of loss or that fear of missing out that may drive them to make bad decisions. So it's very interesting on both a financial and an emotional level. If you want to find out more about the nomad capitalist lifestyle, the nomad capitalist approach to money, definitely subscribe to our channel. If you're brand new, check out the book. We talk about a lot of introductory topics in here. If you're looking for more advanced strategies on legal tax reduction, second citizenships, and personal financial concepts, head on over to nomadcapitalist.com. We've got a lot more resources for you there.